What's up, everybody? Scream 7 is right around the corner, and with that in mind, I wanted to jump on and talk about the top 5 things that I need to see happen in this movie, or I'm going to lose it. With the last several movies, we have had the comfort of being able to trust that the powers that be have a hand on the wheel and are not going to deliver something of lesser quality than what we're used to. With that in mind, a lot has happened in production on this movie that I'd be lying if I said I wasn't at least a little bit nervous about what we're going to get here. So, like I said at the beginning, I just kind of wanted to jump on and talk about the 5 things that I've been thinking about really needing to see with this movie to have faith that Scream 8, which we know is going to go into development right as this is going into theaters, I need to have faith that that's going to be a good movie. And with what's happened, it kind of feels like we might be getting something a little bit messy, or at the very least, something that is to save face for the studio. And with all of that said, it shouldn't be really surprising that a lot of the things on my list are going to kind of feel like I'm kind of saying the obvious, and things that feel like I'm highlighting what made like the original movie and the few following sequels so great. But I believe that the inclusion of any one of the things on my list here will kind of bring the shit back around and restore at least some faith among the fan base that they do care about what they're putting out here. So jumping right in at number 1, I have more chase scenes. Pretty obvious. Scream 2 and Scream 1 have some of the best chase scenes in my opinion, cinema. Particularly Scream 2 with Ghostface and Gale in the college. And then the franchise kind of just lost steam in really doing that. So much so that like in 4, I don't think that there's really a single chase scene that stands out. 5 either, really. I mean, maybe Chad's chase scene, but like short-lived and honestly kind of too quick and to the point. There wasn't enough drawing things out. So then we get to 6 and we have another great chase scene with Gale, but they chose to not stick the landing there, and that's okay if you're going to keep Gale alive to serve a greater purpose in one of the sequels, because at this point the character's flip-flopped. You have to do something with that character. Speaking of characters, that brings us to number 2. Spend more time with these new characters. One of the things that made Scream and Scream 2, Scream 3, and even Scream 4 great is that Wes Craven knew how important it was to spend time with these characters, getting to know them, learning, their intricacies, because that means when they die or when they're taken away from us, it hurts more or is something to celebrate. Unfortunately, with 5 and 6, and I'm a fan of these movies, don't get me wrong, with 5 and 6, we don't really get to spend a whole hell of a lot of time with anybody, so when they're killed off, it doesn't really feel that weighted. The only reason certain deaths in 5 feel weighted is because A, it's the first movie back, B, they kill a legacy character, and C, they named a character after their late director. So this time around, I think we need to spend a little bit more time with Gen Z and get to know these characters so that we can care about them a little bit more, the way that we started to care about the core 4 by the end of Scream 6. For number 3, I think that we should have a compelling side story. I think that that's something that's sorely missing in this franchise. In 5 and 6, they tried to do the whole Billy Loomis thing with Sam, but that didn't really feel justified, I guess, in a way. Like, I get that there's like the throwaway lines that imply that like Christina Carpenter is running around town telling everybody, but like if Sam only found out through a diary, it doesn't feel that believable to me that like this woman who it ruined her life is going to go run around telling everybody in town about it. So it just wasn't that big of a scandal. It didn't feel the same as like finding out what Maureen Prescott was doing and Sid having to unpack all of that, because not only then does she have the emotional trauma of like what her mother did, but then she has the emotional trauma of her mother's transgressions affecting her. And I get that that's what they try to do with Billy and Sam, but it doesn't feel the same because Billy wasn't just a flawed human being, he was a psychopath. And so then your move with Sam is to then either make her a psychopath like her father or let her be the hero, and somehow they found a way to skate the line, but it didn't feel like watching a movie with Sidney where there's hope at the end. There's, like a hero. And so with a compelling side story that changes the narrative as we know it right now, I think you have the potential to make whoever we're focusing on moving forward, you know, somebody that people can root for a little bit more than a character like Sam. As much as I like the character, and I think that Melissa Barrera did a great job in both movies, I wasn't one of the people that disliked her in 5. I don't know, I think that if you go that far in a dark direction with their backstory, you're putting yourself in a position where there's too much speculation for what that character can be. And I get that these movies are mysteries, but I think one of the things that we all can agree on is with 1, 2, 3, and 4, we know that Sidney, Dewey, and Gale are the heroes of this story. Whether they're flawed or not, they're good. Where in 5 and 6, we're following Sam, who is teetering a line, and it doesn't have that wholesome hope that you're hoping for by the end of the movie. And coming in at number 4, I think one important thing that they could do is choose a lane with some of these old characters that you're bringing back. The last 3 movies have technically been passing the baton, passing the torch, and then the studio makes a decision that kind of puts them in a position where they have to bring these characters back because they're a crutch. And now in 7, they're doing that more ridiculously than ever. We have characters that are, by this franchise's rules, dead. They've been shot in the head, coming back. And I love that we all get to then go in knowing that there's like an AI, aspect of this movie. I like Scream movies when they're a mystery, and just bringing back Scott Foley alone tells me everything that I need to know about what direction you're taking and what horror trope you're playing on. So I think definitively in this movie they need to decide whether or not this franchise is going to be led by Neve Campbell and Sidney Prescott, or if they are passing the baton and letting these characters have the happy ending that they deserve after 7 movies. And then my 5th and final thing that I absolutely need to see happen in this movie, or I'm going to freak the fuck out, is make a decision on what you are going to do with Stu Macher. I am not opposed to the character coming back, but I also don't mind if he doesn't. But this movie needs to draw a line in the sand and say definitively whether or not this character is alive in real time, so that this debate amongst the fans can kind of come to an end. The reason I say kind of is because there's been a lot of conversation from, again, the powers that be here that would imply in the past that he was written into these movies, but then the same powers that be are trying to say that they never said that. Video lasts forever. But just make a decision. We need to know, and I think at this point we kind of have a right to know. We're putting our money into something hoping that we're going to get a definitive answer, especially the last couple movies. So I don't know. I think that that's kind of like the most important thing here, is just pick a side of the fence with that and just land that plane. Write him out or write him in, but do so in a way that serves the story. And like I've been saying, guys, I really want to like this movie, and I'm going in as optimistically as possible because I do think that there is a lot of potential to do something special here. Next year is 30 years of Scream, and we have a Scream movie coming out that is filled to the brim with legacy characters, and from what I'm, to understand, things that I've read and things that I've been, hearing through other channels, it seems like the people that are creatively involved in this really do care about delivering a story to us that feels like something that Wes Craven would have been proud of. And especially knowing who's directing it and Kevin Williamson, I think that we're in good hands here. But that doesn't mean that I'm not nervous, and I think that if the powers that be here focus a little bit on any one of the things that I'm kind of saying here, I think that the fan base can't really argue with it too much, and I think that everybody walks away happy. And I would expect that very soon we should start getting something of a marketing rollout, especially with, like the whole Reese's ad thing from about a week or so ago. And with that in mind, once all of that starts to roll out, once the marketing begins, all of the speculation kind of it ramps up in different ways. But this part right now, this fun part where we aren't being told what this is, we're kind of hopeful and deciding for ourselves what it could be, we're having a hell of a time with. So like we've been saying, please feel free to leave your opinions or your theories or your ideas or anything in the comment and let us know if you're excited about this movie, if you're not. Yeah, thank you.